All right. Welcome, stranger. I got a comment on my channel. A viewer wanted to know how to fix his Konica T2, how to replace the mirror bumpers and to that one. Anyway, and to clean the viewfinder, which his was messed up. Smudged, I think he said, probably from the melted mirror bumper material. And I told him basically he couldn't. Anything's possible, but it's really hard for an amateur or hobbyist to clean the viewfinder on the T2, T3, the Autoflex A. Those cameras were made in such a way that they're really hard to work on and very hard to clean the viewfinder. And so I'm working on a Konica T3 right now for a customer. And I thought while I had it apart, I'd go ahead and show him and anybody else interested why those cameras are so hard to work on. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, we're recording. This is the top cover to the camera I'm working on. I've been working on it now 3 days. People can't believe it takes that long to work these old cameras, but it does. Back in the 80s, I could do 3 of them a day, but now they're so corroded and there's so many things wrong, it takes about 3 days to go through one top to bottom. But here's the top cover on it. It's a Auto Reflex T3. And the person on the channel that was asking about a T2, and these cameras are nearly identical, so what will apply to this will apply to his also. Set that aside. Okay, now gonna have to use your imagination a little bit on this one because I don't have it all together. If the camera were sitting in my hand and if it was his customer and he wanted to clean the screen, he could get some naphtha and a Q-tip and clean the screen by rubbing back and forth. He said that some of the mirror bumper was smeared onto the screen, and he could get naphtha possibly and remove it this way. But it still might leave streaks. That's what happened to the customer unit I'm working on now. He tried to clean it and left streaks. And let's see here. There's the shield right there. And the mirror bumper was glued to the back of it. And it was a terrible place to put it. But you can't get to it. No matter how hard you try, it's out of reach and out of sight. I tried using a mirror once and getting the mirror bumper off, but that didn't work too well because the glue is so stuck to it. It needs to be scraped off, and I couldn't do it that way. And then putting back a new one would be hard also. So this shield is a problem, and its location. And the other problem is the viewfinder here. The top is glass, and the bottom is plastic. And then there's a spacer between the two. But from the front, you can reach this plastic one and possibly clean some mirror bumper off of it if you're careful and if you're lucky. But you can't reach the top at all. It's glass. And you can't reach in between the two. So the camera has to be taken apart to get this out. That's what you're really... when you take a camera apart, a Konica, you want to get to this screen, and you also want to be able to reach your mirror bumper and replace it. And both require that you pull the camera apart. So how do you do that? Well, the mirror cage on this camera has to come out like so to get to it. Most cameras are not that way. There's many of them that are hard, but you normally don't have to pull the mirror cage to get to the viewfinder, but on this one you do. And I've already been through this camera and cleaned it up, so it was a lot dirtier when I first opened it. So we'll set this body aside. So you've pulled the mirror cage out. Well, to remove the mirror cage, you have to get back over here. To pull the mirror cage, this right here fits over this advance shaft. It's a bracket, and it has to come off first before you can even pull the mirror cage. And your meter wires have to be all separated. Set that back over here. So to even get the mirror cage out, you've got to get all that off. And then even after you get the mirror cage out, then this right here is sitting in here. It's the prism. And the prism has to come out. And the prism is attached to a bracket here. And they have to come out separately. 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those need to come out. So, when you finally get all that done, and that's about a half a day later, this will be at the bottom, down there. And you've got to unscrew it and take it out. So you're finally there. You've got this out, and it's accessible. Possibly, if there's something on top of the glass, you can just clean it with some glass cleaner, and you're set. And if there's a smeared, a mirror bumper smear here on the bottom, you can get Q-tips or a cotton ball, and you can clean that up with naphtha. So that would take care of that. But if you're unlucky, then you've got to undo these screws. There's one there, and there's a couple over there. And you've got to take this bracket apart, and then the glass and the plastic will come out together. They're taped together, and then you've got to remove the tape, and it's always gummy, and then clean the glass and the plastic separately. And then when you get them cleaned, if you get them cleaned, and if the screen is not damaged, you have to tape them back together, drop them in here, and put the bracket back together. On this particular camera, I did have to do that. I had to go through my stock, find another screen, because the screen that was on there was ruined. And I kept the bracket and the glass, but I replaced the screen. Cleaned them both, which was a headache with my eyesight, and taped them together and dropped them back inside. So now it's ready to reinstall in the camera. And once I get that done, I can put the camera back together, and that will take another half day. But what about the mirror bumper? Well, that's next. While we're in here, we've got to do that too. The mirror bumper can only be reached from the back here, and to reach it, you need to pull the mirror out. Here's the mirror that flips up and down. You can see the bracket and the hole there, and the hole there. It's right in the way. Point my camera down here. It's right in the way of cleaning the mirror bumper. Here we go. The mirror bumper is glued to the back right here, right across there. Terrible place to put it. And it's also attached to the bracket on both sides. These brackets hold this plate in place. You can see it moving around. But the mirror bumper, the way they did it, they just glued it across there. I say glued. The mirror bumpers normally have an adhesive back side, but they may have, I don't know. But when you take these apart, there's never a mirror bumper left. It's just bits and pieces and a bunch of glue. And so you have to reach up here at the top, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to see this. You've got to scrape that glue off. When you do, it goes right down. To get it off, you got to go scrape it right down to the metal. Same way in the brackets on both sides. You've got to scrape the glue off and the paint, get it right down to the metal. The glue really is set and does not come off very easily. unfortunately. So after you do that, then you got to go back and repaint it so it doesn't rust or tarnish. And I didn't do a very good paint job on it, but nobody's going to be able to see this. It's a black, flat black paint. So the new mirror bumper that I'll put in will have to be put here and extend over these brackets on both sides. So when the mirror comes up, it hits that bumper. And I always hate putting it in there because I realize it's such a bad position the next door repairman that comes along is going to have to do the same thing I did to reach it. It's just nearly impossible. It's the only camera I know of that you have to remove the mirror off the hinges or these pivot points and get it out of the way so you can reach it and see it. There's no other way. I suppose you could leave the mirror in and work down from the top, but you can't really see it as well. And after spending a half a day getting down this far, it only takes just a couple of minutes to go ahead and remove the door. And that helps a lot for reaching it and seeing what you're doing. So, what else? I replaced the mirror bumper, which I haven't done yet, and taken the viewfinder out, disassembled it, replaced the screen, and that's pretty much it. And so, yes, why can't amateurs or do-it-yourselfers replace the mirror bumper and clean the screens on Konicas? Because it's hard. To do all this, you'd nearly have to be a camera repairman. And the chances of somebody having enough skill to get this deep and then get out and not damage the camera would be pretty rare. Your average just repairman, amateur hobbyist would not have the knowledge to get this deep and to take the camera apart. And that's why on my website, when the viewer asked me how to clean the viewfinder, I told him he couldn't do it. It was just not possible. Now, this is why. But they're certainly not laid out in such a way to help the camera repairman work on them to make his job easier. It's very hard. There's no reason for it. The camera's a good camera. It takes excellent pictures, and the shutter's solid. It doesn't really have any weak points. I guess you just call it a design flaw. When they installed the viewfinder, they certainly weren't thinking about having it cleaned by the customer or the repairman. A lot of cameras at this time had removable screens. You just flipped a little lever and the screen came out and you could clean it. But Konica did not go that route. Okay, that's enough. And that is why I don't like working on the Konicas, and why customers can't clean their own screens. It's just nearly impossible. And with that, we'll stop here. All right, that's it. Getting late here. I'm ready to call it quits for the day. I hope you can see why it's nearly impossible for a amateur hobbyist to clean the screen and replace the mirror bumper on a Konica T2 or T3. You have to go awful deep to do that, and I don't even like going into them. It's pretty hard. To pull out that mirror cage, you've got to pull the bracket on the advance lever and undo all the wires and nuts and screws to the meter and pull that out. And then you got to pull out the prism. You got to pull out the prism bracket. Then you got to go down and unscrew that small unit that holds the glass and the plastic for the viewfinder. While you're doing this, you got to make sure that the distances remain the same, the timing, so the focus doesn't change. Once you get that small unit, you got to open it up and clean the screen and the glass, reassemble it, put it back in, then reverse order. Everything's got to come out. If you're going to replace the mirror bumper while you're in there, you really need to pull off the mirror so you can reach it. You can reach it kind of from the top, but to really do it right, it's worth spending a few minutes to get the door out so you can really see it. Got to scrape off the old one, paint it. Then you got to put in a new mirror bumper, same place in the back, and then reassemble the whole camera. And it takes about a half day to tear one down, so you're going to spend at least a half a day putting it back together, all to clean the viewfinder. It's work. Konica is one of the worst about making the viewfinder cleaning so hard. Some of the cameras, they put in a small release from the front where you can take the screen out and clean it, like on the Nikons. Olympus has a release also. Minolta put them in their cameras later, but Konica, to my knowledge, never did. And that's one reason I didn't like working on them. Good camera, take good pictures, solid camera, all steel, very little plastic. Construction-wise, they're bulletproof, but the viewfinders are, I don't like working on them. Anyway, that's enough for tonight. Hope you enjoyed this little tour. If the person's watching this video who wanted me to clean, not wanted me, but wanted me to show him how to clean his viewfinder, maybe he now understands why it's just so hard and impossible. But anyway, that's it. Later.